Hello, literature scholars, as we are now in week 29 of Love of Literature, and I'm glad to have you back. And I wonder if you have figured out yet the answer. Have you figured out what NIM stands for? I told you this week that I would tell you this week, but I don't know. Have you figured it out? Like I said, it's a real thing, and I'll tell you what it stands for. It stands for National Institute of Mental Health. That makes sense, doesn't it? Well, the National Institute of Mental Health is a real thing, and they study mental health, and they use rats a lot of times to study. They do little different experiments to see how they learn this way and what happens if they do this and that kind of thing. But I'm pretty sure that they've never made rats smart as people. So this is definitely still a pretty fiction story, but it's fun to think about, and that the fact that it really is a thing. Okay, so you are going to finish this book this week, and when you are done, if you'll look on the RenWeb site, right where you get the videos for these classes, you'll see a little clip. It's a 3-minute clip about the rats of Mrs. Frisby and the rats of NIM, and it's a funny thing, and I think you'll enjoy it. It pretty much tells the whole story in 3 minutes, and but don't listen to it until after you finish reading the book, because I think you'll get a little bit more out of it and you understand a little bit more about what they're saying. So look forward to that. Okay, so now onward to your roots. And today we're going to have a Latin root and we're going to have a Greek root. So go ahead and get your Latin. You go ahead and get your root pages out that are in your packet. Get your composition pages ready. Your first one is called Numer. Numer. It means number, which makes sense because it looks like that. It looks like it means number. So I have there's a little number sign up here, and then these are different words that are made with that root. Numeral, numerator, numerical, and numerous. They all have something to do with number. Right? That's your Latin root. Then you have your Greek root. Onim, or onim. I'm not sure how to pronounce all of these, but it means name. And then you have a whole list of words, English words that have that root in them. Acronym, anonymous, antonym, homonym, pseudonym, synonym. They all have something to do with naming something. All right, so that is your Greek root. Now I would like you to go ahead and open up your notebook and find both of those roots in the front where you usually do, that has everything listed, and you can write the definitions that we've written here on them. Okay, so you'd write name for onim, and you'd write number for numer. Okay, be sure to keep up with that because it'll be a lot easier to study with when you need to. All right, so go ahead and when you're finished with that, we'll get started on something else. This is going to be a fairly quick lesson because we've done it some of this stuff before, so it's not anything new. All right, we are going to talk about inferences again. We've already done that a couple of weeks ago, and we made a composition page about it. And remember, I talked about if I put a jacket and a coat and a shawl and all that stuff, you can infer that it's cold weather. You remember that? Well, that we were talking about inference. So we're going to talk about it a little bit more, just kind of in a different way. And we're going to make another composition page book on it. That was your very last one. Can you believe it? For Love of Lit. So you have made yourself so hopefully we'll be able to get it to you so you can finish it. But this is the last page, and all talking about here is it's in terms of what's called book ideas and brain ideas. I didn't bring my book out here, shucks. But a book idea is something that you have read in the book, okay? Then your brain idea is what you know about a subject. So then you put those two together and you come up with an inference. All right, so we're going to start at the very beginning of the book, okay? About the problem that Mrs. Frisbee had was that she could not move because Timothy was sick, and in the process we find out that there's this rock in the middle of the field, and she's using part of that rock for her home. All right, so that is we read in the book that there's a rock in the field, and the reason there was a rock in the field is because the farmer couldn't move it, so he just left it there, and he plowed around it. So we know that from the book. So let's go over then to our brain idea. Well, our brain idea knows that people can move small rocks. All right? And the fact that this farmer couldn't move this rock tells us that this is not a small rock. It is a big rock. See how simple that is? We thought we were going to come up with some big fancy thing, and that's really the only thing that we're going to come up with. And so what I'm going to do is, but what I would like you to do is think through the book again, and think through as you read, and see if you can come up with some other ideas for this. Okay, I'm just giving you this one example, but what I would really like to do is kind of discuss it with you all, because I know that you have good brains and you can come up with some other ideas and some other examples, and we can't really do that this way, but you can still do it think about it yourself and be writing a couple of them down. Okay, that's what I would really like you to do. But you're going to be making a page, your last page, like I said, and you have it in your packet. It looks like this, and all I did was what we just talked about. Okay, this has a flap, so make sure that when you glue this in, you only glue the edges, because you need to open it. So my book idea right here, the farmer could not move the rock. Okay, we know that from the book. He couldn't move the rock. It was in the middle of the field, and for some reason it was there, and he couldn't move it. All right. So then on this side we have our brain idea. Brain idea here. Well, people can move small rocks. Book idea, the rock could not be moved. Brain idea, people can move small rocks. So then we open it up for our inference, and our inference says the rock was big. All that space for just that one little sentence. But what I'd like you to do now, like I said, is think of at least one more example. Put down your book idea, write it on here. Think about your brain idea, write it right on here, and then put the inference inside. Okay? That's what I'd like you to do. All right. So that's all we're going to do as far as that goes. But we're going to be reading now the rest of the book today, or this week. You probably won't read it all in one day. Maybe you've already read it. I don't know. Some of you read the whole book at once without waiting for the different weeks. But anyway, so you have learned a whole lot more by reading this week, haven't you? About the rats and about Mrs. Frisbee and what actually happened, and how the rats came to live where they're living, and what's going on in the rat's hole, and all that, and how does. So some of the questions you probably were thinking about. Well, how does Jonathan Frisbee fit into this? What were the rats preparing for? Why were they preparing for it? Did everybody agree for this plan? Did everybody agree that this plan was good? If they didn't, why? What were some of the differences of opinions? I guess a biggie for me is, some of the rats made a certain decision to do some things, and they were just thinking about what they wanted to do, so they went off and they did it. And think about how their actions affected the rest of them, the rest of the rats. And was it a good effect or was it not a good effect? How did it affect them? And then you can think a little bit about the fact that that happens with people too. Sometimes, people do things, they act a certain way or they do a certain way, and they're really just thinking of what they want and how it's going to affect them, and not realizing that maybe their actions or their thoughts or their words or whatever are going to affect other people in a good way or in a bad way. Okay, so that's always so think about that as you're reading this. Think about how you can maybe apply it to yourself. How can you think about what you're doing and how it affects other people? All right, and of course the main thing you want to see is how does it affect your witness for Jesus, because he wants you to glorify him and be a good witness for him, doesn't he? Okay, but this, of course, these rats, they're animals, and they don't think in those terms, but it's just a really good thing to think about as you're reading about this. And I'll be interested to hear how you what you think of it, how you think of the ending, and about the whole book. And I wish I could ask you. All right, we'll talk to you later. See you next week. Have a great week. Bye bye.